Welcome to Inderes ESG Day. My name is Karoliina Loikkanen and I'm heading Inderes ESG Solutions. Today I have the pleasure to host this event. Before I give room for our excellent presenters, I would actually like to answer one question I'm quite often asked. Why on earth is Inderes still holding an ESG Day? Isn't ESG something which is part of day-to-day business? Or something which should be actually presented as part of investor relations presentation? Although the answer is yes, there are a few points I would like to highlight. First, I think the ESG Day is quite good to increase the understanding and awareness about ESG. We all know, and we are quite used to, assess the profitability levels of companies. We know what ROI means, we know what EBIT margin means. But when it comes to, for example, carbon dioxide emission calculations and what sort of investment needs are needed to achieve carbon emission targets, it might not be that well known for everyone. The second point is that we wanted to provide companies with the opportunity to actually directly tell about their ESG approach to investors and to broader public, so that they would not be forced to kind of hide behind the ESG ratings or other ESG descriptions. All companies are kind of faced with individual and separate ESG risks and opportunities, and of course it's good that they have the possibility to actually tell about how they manage those risks and opportunities directly. The third point is that I would like to correct a few kind of thoughts which have been risen because of the anti-ESG movements, which is also landing in Finland. That's about politics. That's about ESG as such. But when we talk about environmental, social and governance risk and opportunities, those are really not buried. Let me give you a few examples why I'm actually saying that those things are not buried, and on the contrary, they will be even more important going forward. I'll start with quite obvious example on climate change, but it's quite a concrete way to sort of explain this background. So when we think about various environmental risks, they require companies to adapt, innovate and invest in a longer term, but also already as of today. When we think about different industries, different companies, they all are faced with different environmental risks. If we take a look at this table on the screen, it illustrates few of those risks. Let's take water resources and food production, for example. The impacts on agricultural sector and food production will be significant globally, in Europe and even in Finland. Water availability, changes in crop production will evidently impact agricultural industry. It means that the companies operating in that sector are in need to innovate new products, innovate new ways to actually produce the products, innovate new supply chains, think the whole industry in a renewed way to provide food for everyone. When we think about health and well-being, the climate change and other environmental risks are also impacting all of us. We all, unfortunately, remember still the coronavirus. That was just an example about the different infectious diseases which will increase going forward. How are companies managing those risks? Those risks will impact the productivity, it will impact the mental health of people, it will impact, in other words, the productivity and mental health of employees. Of course, there are a lot of variations between different geographies, how high the impacts are, what sort of impacts there will be, but the impacts will be there. And the companies need to find new ways to actually manage these sort of risks not existing before. Then when we go a little bit further and think about our environment where we live in today, think about you going to the district of Helsinki and it's flooding. You're not able to go to the office. It will evidently impact your working day. It will evidently impact the company you're working at. The productivity will be decreasing. The types of doing work will be changing. And companies are again facing new challenges. How to manage these challenges, how to find new ways of working, how to ensure that the productivity level is not decreasing, how to ensure that people can go safe to their work, how to ensure that they can go safely home. These are sort of environmental risks which are not only existing somewhere else, somewhere outside Finland. We will be witnessing, for example, increased risk of flooding going forward in Finland as well. We already witnessed kind of impacts on certain crops during last summer because of high temperatures in Southern Europe. Coronavirus is still there to remember, unfortunately. So what this will mean to companies is that they need to find new ways to assess risk. And I hope that today we will also hear a little bit more about the concrete ways and concrete activities companies are taking to assess the risks, to understand at which point of time the risk might start to escalate, and at which point of time they need to start investing to mitigate the risks which are going to happen or escalating in the future. Related to this one, if we still continue on the environmental path, so to say, we are witnessing a kind of a regulation tsunami. The regulative changes, which are ongoing specifically in Europe, but also in US, are actually currently driving the timing of new investments. I tried to actually take a print screen on European Union Commission's list of legislative initiatives, just to illustrate how many of those initiatives there are or have been in November and December. And I didn't manage to do that. I managed to take only initiatives which were started on 4th of December. So there are a lot of them and they will be impacting many industries. The impacts will be different. They will be direct or they will be indirect. Suppliers are impacted when their customer is impacted by one regulation. So the European Union Green Deal and Fit for 55 are bringing significant legislative changes. We know that maritime industry, aviation industry will be impacted by emission trading scheme, increasingly going forward. Whole transportation sector is under renewal. Energy sector, it's not only about regulative changes, it's also about funding, getting new funds for investments for innovating from public sector. How to manage that the funds you are getting are something that you are capable to get. How to actually understand what are the broad requirements related to a lot of environmental things on operative management you need to kind of comply with to be able to apply for the funds. That's something that the companies need to increasingly understand going forward. Quite recently, we have been discussing about packaging legislation changes. It's quite familiar here in Finland because a few of the most traditional companies are those which are impacted by the new packaging directive. And textile industry is something which is renewing as well. Competition is increasing, but we are also witnessing kind of legislation and initiatives impacting that industry. When it comes to recyclability rate or reusability rate, what does that mean for the companies? How are they going to manage the impacts? Are they going to turn the impacts to their opportunities? Construction industry, like I already explained a bit with the previous slide, there will be many changes, not only related to the materials which are used, but also to the ways the buildings are built going forward. So with these kind of few examples, I wanted to give sort of big picture that what are the environmental, societal and governance related topics that the companies will increasingly face going forward. I'm really looking forward to seeing the presentations which we will be seeing today, and I wish you an enjoyable event. Thank you.